I've got big breaking news coming in on the Newstrack tonight. An army vehicle moving between Bhimbar Gali and Poonch in the Rajouri sector of Jammu and Kashmir has been fired on by unidentified terrorists. 5 army men of the Rashtriya Rifles unit deployed for counter-terrorism operations have been killed in this attack. Terrorists may have lobbed grenades on the vehicle, which then caught fire. Army Chief General Manoj Pandey has briefed Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Injured on the spot have been rushed for medical treatment. Search operations have been launched. We're also receiving word that there is a advisory that's been put out by the police in Jammu and Kashmir linking the possibility of attack to the fact that later this month there is a G20 summit in Jammu and Kashmir from the 22nd to the 25th of May, and that there is a possibility that terrorists will try and cause more attacks somewhere in Jammu and Kashmir to create a sense of things not being normal in Jammu and Kashmir. The government taking a big decision, wanting to have a G20 meeting in Jammu and Kashmir, and terrorists inside Pakistan occupied Kashmir obviously wanting to disrupt that. That's the information that we are getting. We're also learning that the PAFF has claimed responsibility. This is a claim that they've made on social media. Sources in the intelligence agencies are telling us that the footprints of the Lashkar can be seen all across the attack, this attack. The Additional Director General of Jammu and other senior officers are rushing to the area where this encounter has taken place. Remember, a vehicle caught fire. It was initially thought that something went wrong, which is why that vehicle caught fire. But now it turns out that that was a terror attack. 5 army men have been killed. It's being said that the terrorists used an explosive device at this vehicle, and that's how the vehicle detonated and caught fire. We're also being told that there is a heightened possibility of more terror attacks in the Jammu and Kashmir region in the build-up to that big G20 summit. You know, it's been a while since there's been a major attack of this nature in Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, in February 2019, 40 CRPF personnel were killed in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama district when a Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist rammed a vehicle laden with explosives into the bus that they were travelling in. And after that, now we are seeing this terror attack in which 5 personnel from the Rashtriya Rifle have been killed. Abhishek Bhalla, our National Bureau Chief, joins us. He tracks defence for us. Abhishek, a big disturbing story. This, an army vehicle attacked by terrorists in Rajouri, 5 personnel killed. Initially, this was thought that the vehicle caught fire. Now the army confirming that this is actually a terror attack.
Yes, Rahul, a terror attack, and a very well-planned one is what sources are telling me. In fact, first there were bullets fired at this vehicle. This was a single vehicle that was moving from Bhimbar Gali. It was a Rashtriya Rifle personnel. Rashtriya Rifles is the main force that combats terror in J&K, and there were 6 personnel in the vehicle. 5 have lost their lives. 1 is injured. Has been taken to hospital. What officials are saying is that the weather was bad, it was raining, the visibility was low, and perhaps that's the reason why the terrorists in the area found this to be the right time to strike. And after firing bullets, they have thrown grenades at the vehicle. This is what amplified this attack, and there was a big fire that the vehicle caught, which resulted in 5 personnel dying.
What do we know about the People's Anti-Fascist Front, the PAFF, which at least on social media seems to be claiming responsibility for the attack? Remember, intelligence agencies tell us that this is linked with the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the PAFF. What do we know about their involvement in past terror attacks, Abhishek?
Well, Rahul, agencies have always maintained that any such outfits are nothing but an extension of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, the big terror outfits that function from Pakistan. And even with this incident, agencies and the army are trying to ascertain immediately whether this was a fresh infiltration that has taken place, or whether terrorists had already infiltrated well in advance and were taking refuge in some area. Because this is a secluded area where the incident has taken place, not a lot of civilian population residing here. The vehicle that was moving, they were moving from Bimbar Gali to one of the company areas where they had to reach. So in all probability, it seems that this is a terror outfit that is backed by
Kamaljeet
Pakistan.
Sandhu joins us. Kamaljeet Sandhu tracks internal security for us. Kamaljeet, since 2019, there haven't been major terror attacks. This is the biggest since Pulwama in 2019 in February. There have been other attacks in years gone by, but this seems to have been a major terror attack. What details can you give our viewers, Kamaljeet?
Well, Rahul, definitely this is a very ghastly attack. The visual itself are very, very disturbing. But what our sources are indicating is that PAFF, as you mentioned rightly, has taken responsibility on various social media sites.
What is PAFF? What can you tell me about PAFF? At one place I'm seeing that this is Jaish backed, at another place on tracking terrorism, the portal, it's being said that this was started by the Lashkar-e-Taiba. Who are these guys?
So this is a splinter group, and obviously there is a sense of deniability, and that is why these smaller splinter groups was formed, one by Jaish and one by Lashkar. But sources clearly indicating to us that this looks like a Lashkar imprint. What is also very much known is that there was a firing and subsequently followed by grenade, and it does seem that the fuel tank was targeted, and that is why you see that the entire truck actually went up in flames, and that has caused a lot more injuries. Also, sources do say that this is an indication of a major escalation, especially because G20 was being organized in Jammu and Kashmir. It's a matter of great prestige. However, in the recent past itself, the Union Home Minister had taken a meeting on the G20 security issues. It was supposed to be one of the big things. Also, that there was a direction coming in from Home Ministry that there has to be zero terror. Now, that is a very, very high value target as far as this, because obviously even as far as crime or something like terror is concerned, zero target has been kept as far as our sources indicate. And meanwhile, this is the sort of thing which has come, and obviously we know that as far as drugs, as far as weapons, IEDs, a whole lot of things have been coming across the border, especially via drones, and now we see a major escalation in terms of an attack taking of this kind. This is obviously something which has been taken note of.
No, so do we have details like this is a Rashtra Rifles vehicle that's been targeted? Was it traveling alone? Was it in a cavalcade? I'm just receiving word from the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Manoj Sinha. He's tweeted to say, I'm deeply anguished by the loss of lives of brave army personnel in a tragic incident at Poonch. Their rich service to the nation will never be forgotten. My thoughts are with the bereaved families. Was this vehicle by itself, Kamaljeet? Was it as part of a convoy? Do we know where it was in that convoy? Was it in the beginning? Was it in the middle? Was it towards the end?
Well, the details will be known better, because obviously we've spoken to our police sources. They're saying the senior officers rushing there. But yes, this vehicle was targeted, and it does seem like a very planned attack, and it does seem that there was an ambush-style attack which has taken place, followed by a grenade attack, and that is where we have to know whether the retaliation took place. So these details will emerge in some time from now, but senior officers telling that, including ADGV Jammu and the rest of the officers rushing to the spot, and obviously this is something which is being taken note of. Usually convoys of this kind do not go alone. They usually have a cavalcade of sorts, but remember, as far as the ROP is concerned, the road opening party, the other safety aspects are taken into consideration. Now, in the past few months or so, we've seen there have hardly been, and we've seen the earlier of the year, beginning with the Rajouri terror attack, where Hindu minorities were targeted in the Rajouri area. But meanwhile, this is the second big attack of this particular nature which has taken place, and obviously forces will take into consideration. We've seen there have been earlier demands that forces should be removed, especially from areas which are safe and secure. But obviously Jammu and Kashmir is obviously a different ballgame altogether. It's one step forward and two step backwards. This is obviously seen as an escalation, but yes, the planning and plotting, where has it been carried out? Was it from across the border? Remember, as far as terror organizations are concerned, Jammu Kashmir Police intelligence sources saying that they're down to 50 and handful of foreign terrorists there. But this looks like a very, very well-planned attack. And
just stay with me. I've got access to an intelligence bureau advisory put out largely to the Jammu and Kashmir police. I just want to read from this advisory. As per reliable sources, there is growing frustration in POK authorities regarding the G20 summit to be held in Kashmir. It's also learned that announcements are being made in mosques, loudspeakers in POK exhorting volunteers to join the Jihad Brigade in Kashmir for a limited period. The announcement said that those willing to cross over will be trained and equipped with arms to disturb the G20 summit in Kashmir, though the appeal is likely to have less impact, but the possibility of smaller groups being motivated and pushed across to this side cannot be ruled out. It is likely that there may be a surge in infiltration bids in the days to come. That's a big concern. Abhishek Bhala, the fact that there is this big G20 summit, what details do we have about the nature of this summit, the different meetings taking place in different parts of the country, what's happening in Kashmir on the 22nd and 25th of May, between that time?
Well, just last week there was a big security review done by the Home Minister himself, where several senior officers from the security apparatus were there, and they briefed the Home Minister on the kind of security measures that are being taken place. And yes, there has been a flurry of intelligence, in fact, linked to the G20 events that are taking place in Kashmir. All of these advisories, these intelligence inputs say that they could be targeted, attacked by Pakistani-backed terrorists. Now, if we are to just look at some of the recent intelligence and security reviews about the security situation in Kashmir, they have been reiterating the fact that there is, in fact, a lot of frustration amongst the terror groups, different tanzeems, because they have not been able to carry out a big, spectacular kind of terror attack like the one happened in Pulwama. Also because there is a reiteration of ceasefire for almost 2.5 years now. The LOC has been largely peaceful, it's calm. We are not hearing of the big artillery guns booming at the line of control, or shelling happening in civilian areas. That too has impacted infiltration attempts from the other side, even though attempts have taken place, but they've mostly been thwarted. This is what officials have been telling us over the last few months.
So two disturbing things. One, this big terror attack, 5 army personnel killed. Remember, when there is peace for a relatively long period of time, oftentimes we've seen in the past that the level of security preparedness tends to come down just the odd notch. It's only human nature that that would happen, and now terrorists have attacked this vehicle. 5 personnel are killed, and we also have a situation where there is a G20 meeting taking place in Jammu and Kashmir next month, and ahead of that you've got a very tense period where there will be efforts to infiltrate more terrorists in and try and create some havoc, because the Indian government and the Jammu and Kashmir authorities would like to show that there is a sense of normalcy, that tourism is booming, that Jammu and Kashmir is developing, and the terrorists will be determined to show that this is actually not the case. So there will be a period of this face-off which we will have to be very, very mindful of between now and say the 22nd of next month, which is when that G20 meeting will take place in Jammu and Kashmir. 5 personnel from the Rashtriya Rifles have been killed. It's being told to us that there was a grenade or more grenades that were fired. The exact nature of this attack is unknown. Was the RNR able to push back, fight back? The status of these terrorists isn't known yet either. But what we do know is that 5 army personnel of the Rashtriya Rifle have been killed in this terror attack, one of the biggest attacks in recent times. Remember, there have been pinpoint targeted killings of Abhishek minorities in the recent past in places like Rajouri and elsewhere. This kind of a major attack where 5 RNR personnel are killed in the same attack, this has actually not happened for quite a few months now.
That's right, Rahul. There had been a lull as far as these kind of targeted attacks against security forces are concerned. Yes, there have been targeted killings of Hindus in Kashmir. In fact, that's been one of the biggest security challenges for this government of late. But what I can confirm, Rahul, now just getting some more updates about this particular attack, it was in fact a single vehicle that was traveling. It was not a convoy. It was just one vehicle with 6 personnel that were traveling from Bimbargali to the location of their company. And that's where this attack has taken place. So it's not a convoy. It's not a situation where a huge mobilization was taking place. It's not being called largely a civilian kind of area, although in this area there are civilians residing, but it's a secluded area. Bimbargali is quite secluded from a civilian population. It's usually military movements that happen over here. And the confirmation that we've got now is that this was
that
just
happens
a single vehicle
oftentimes.
which was
Usually
traveling.
when there's a terror attack like this, now for a long time there will be no single vehicle movements allowed, but then when there is peace for a long time, you know, exceptions are made and single vehicles move of the kind they did in this area, and that's where these 5 Rashtra Rifles personnel were killed. So the G20 meeting that I was talking about runs from the 22nd to the 24th of May. It's in Srinagar. It's a tourism working group. This is under India's G20 presidency. It's a tourism working group meeting. It will be held in Srinagar, and that's obviously something that the Pakistani terrorists and the ISI and the Pak government would be unhappy about. We're also being told at this time that Bilawal Bhutto, the foreign minister of Pakistan, will actually be traveling to Jammu and Kashmir, will actually be traveling to India for a meeting that is to happen later this year. This again is part of the G20 meetings that are happening. 4th and 5th of May, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto confirming that he will travel to the SCO meeting in Goa. This has been announced by the Pakistan Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Shiv Arur joins us. He's tracked Jammu and Kashmir security for more than 2 decades now. Shiv, a single vehicle, not a cavalcade, targeted by terrorists in the build-up to this big G20 meeting in Srinagar. And I think that as we head towards the 3rd week of May, there will be more tension in Jammu and Kashmir. At least that's what the terrorists will try and do.
Most certainly, yes, Rahul. All attempts will be made to, activate cells very close to the line of control. As Abhishek was saying earlier, things have been relatively peaceful on the line of control. But the upcoming G20 meet in Srinagar, or all other activities that are taking place. There's election season in the country as well, but specifically that G20 meeting, clearly a target for terrorists to try and heat up the atmosphere in J&K. If you look at the data as far as attacks in general in J&K, Rahul, compared with 2021, which was a heavy year for attacks on the line of control, things have been relatively calm in 2022 and now. But this particular attack is actually the 3rd so far this year on an army convoy, and that's something that's very disturbing. It also proves that road opening parties, as rigorous and meticulous as they are, they cannot always, completely sanitize these extremely sensitive routes. And if you look at the terrain, Rahul, this is typical terrain that terrorists have used in the past as well to target army or paramilitary convoys. It's a hilly area. There are elevations very close to the road. It's a heavily wooded area as well. We're told that when this attack happened, it was raining quite heavily as well. So visibility would have been pretty poor, even in keeping with a road opening party. So clearly, the imprint of the Lashkar may be there. The J&K police's intelligence input to the army that we reported a few days ago, clearly evident in what we're looking at and reporting here right now.
Okay. I'm also being told that there is a hailstorm in different parts of the district, and therefore search operations to that extent are being impacted by the fact that there's heavy rain and hailstorm. They're looking for terrorists in the dense forests of Rajouri and Poonch. A cordon is in place. They're looking for the terrorists who perpetrated this attack. The area has been sealed. Vehicular movement in that area has now been stopped. So vehicular movement going to where, remember, I've been to Bimbargali once. It's a very densely wooded area and the roads are very narrow, steep inclines. So they've picked an area where the population density is relatively low, and they've then sneaked out into the forest. And now the Indian Army is out to try and catch these terrorists. We'll keep tracking the story very closely here on India Today. I want to shift our attention now to Karnataka, and what we've been doing is bringing you all the latest from the battlefield. In this particular part of our broadcast, we want to focus on the numbers, the maths. I'll have some very sharp political minds joining me to talk about the state of play as it stands at this moment, and we've been working with the Data Intelligence Unit at the India Today Group to give you sharp insights into where this battle seems to be headed.
Countdown to State of War Karnataka. Whose stock is up? Whose stock is down? Will defections have an impact? Will star power work? Who's winning the Karnataka political league? The big focus on Newstrack.
This is a show where we'll focus on the numbers. Last week, we brought you the Karnataka Political League. We looked at the anti-incumbency that had built against the BJP state government. On this week's show, we'd look at the BJP strategy and why the Bharatiya Janata Party thinks they're still in the fight and how they hope to win this election, despite the fact that popular consensus at the moment suggests that there is anti-incumbency against the state government and that the Congress is in with a chance. Remember, from the BJP's perspective, this is an election which is more about management than it is about mahal. So, an exclusive sneak peek into the BJP strategy and then a very fine panel of experts to try and decode whether that will be enough for the BJP to be able to hold fort. Joining me on this broadcast, I want to welcome first Yogendra Yadav from Swaraj India. He's associated in Karnataka with Edulu Karnataka. He wants it to be known very clearly that he has skin in the game and is seeking regime change. We've got with us from the Bharatiya Janata Party, Member of Parliament GVL Narasimha Rao, and I've been insisting that he's here in this broadcast purely in his capacity as a psephologist, and he's not allowed to do politics and just stick to the numbers that we put out. Rajiv Gowda is the chairperson of the All India Congress Committee's research department, very sharp political mind himself. He's joining us on this broadcast, as also is one of India's leading psephologists, Sanjay Kumar, director at Lokniti CSDS. R.K. Upadhyay is one of the top political scientists and columnists out of Karnataka. And for the first time, we have Devendra Shukla. He's with Matrice Communications. They've done an opinion poll in Karnataka. He'll tell us what he and his team have been picking up. I want to start with the story of the week, which is the fact that now in the northern part of Karnataka, the BJP has seen some defections in the form of Sevadi and in the form of Jagdish Shettar. And the Congress hopes that these defections could give it additional momentum. The BJP, remember, thinks that this is dead wood, which is why their tickets were cut. They don't think that these leaders add very much to their base, and they're very happy to see them go. I want to go across just to give you a sense of how the BJP actually did in the last elections in these regions of northern Karnataka, in the Mumbai Karnataka region, in the Hyderabad Karnataka region, and then we look at what may happen on the back of these defections and whether or not the likes of Jagdish Shettar joining the Congress makes a real difference in the polls or not. So let me just pull out the region-wise map of Karnataka, and there are two regions in particular that we're looking at: Hyderabad Karnataka and Mumbai Karnataka. I'll start with Mumbai Karnataka, and what you have on your screen are the assembly tally from the last time. Remember, the BJP in the last elections had 30 seats, the Congress 17 in Mumbai Karnataka. It's traditionally and typically been a stronghold of the Bharatiya Janata Party in recent elections. Then we'll come to Hyderabad Karnataka, where the Congress did better. Even though the Congress came second in the last elections, the Congress in the Hyderabad Karnataka region was actually ahead, picking up 21 seats versus the BJP's 15. So this is the starting point as we get into polling on the 10th of May. And I want to start by asking Yogendra Yadav first on the issue of the impact that these defections could potentially make. The BJP says, we're doing what we did in Gujarat. The Trinamool did this, for example, in West Bengal. Get rid of your old guard, which has anti-incumbency against it, to the extent possible. Bring in younger faces. The voters will appreciate that there are newer faces who've been given an opportunity, and that the vote bank like the Lingayats will stay with the BJP, and the likes of Jagdish Shettar and Sevadi don't matter very much. What's your thought on this?
Rahul, I should begin by thanking you for inviting me to the show and by clarifying. I hope you did that, but I couldn't hear that very clearly. I do not pretend to be a neutral apologist. I'm very happy to see Sanjay Kumarji, who's a apologist and is non-aligned. I don't pretend to be one. We are involved in a civil society coalition called Yeddalu Karnataka, which is about awakening Karnataka and to the challenge of getting rid of this regime. So please, forget that I'm a apologist. Number two, the point that I wanted to make about the specific question of defections that you mentioned, I think there are two kinds of effects. One effect is the number of votes that people who shift from one party to the other. We don't know that entirely very clearly this time. And it often happens that people who shift from one party to other do not always bring the votes from their parent party. So we don't yet know. I would not make any big claims. In any case, I can see Professor Rajiv Gowda, who knows these things infinitely better than me because he's from Karnataka. I would think let's focus on a larger effect. The other effect is very serious demoralization. And from whatever I'm hearing from the BJP camp, from Karnataka watchers, people who are not from any political party, people who are working on the ground, and I've come to this program from a meeting of the ground workers spread across Karnataka right now, Bengaluru. And the one thing that comes out from every corner of Karnataka is very serious demoralization of BJP workers. People have given up on the ground. They are saying, yaar, ye to shuru se hi khatam ho gaya khel. And that is, so BJP begins this particular election now, especially in the wake of what happened in the last 7-10 days, with very, very serious psychological disadvantage. And that itself, I'm sure my friend Narasimha Rao, who's claiming to be neutral, I wish he was not to claim such things. I mean, you know,
he's not claiming neutrality. He's only got his apologist data hat on. He's not claiming neutrality. He's as biased as can be. He's only saying, I'll stick to the data on the show.
And I saw his face on the camera and I was reminding of older days. So I'm sure he would endorse the point that I'm making.
Okay.
That is, that this very serious psychological impact itself can shift 2 to 3% vote. And remember, that's all the Congress needs to score a edge into an emphatic victory, which is where it seems to be headed right now in Karnataka.
Okay, so you're thinking that there will be an emphatic victory. I want to show you the margin as it stood to give you a vote percentage sense, because Yogendra Yadav makes the point that defections could impact optics, could impact the level of morale of party workers, and that could lead to a 2 and 3% swing. If you look at the vote share of the BJP and the Congress in Karnataka, in the last assembly elections, the BJP actually had lesser votes as a percentage than the Congress, 36 versus 38. The BJP got more seats because their votes were more concentrated. If you look at the number of seats won by both parties, the Congress had only 80, the BJP, when results were counted, originally had 104, and that's because the BJP's vote share was more concentrated, the Congress's was dispersed across the state. They had a 2% advantage. Yogendra Yadav predicts that this could lead to a 2%, 3% change in Mahal, and he thinks that's all that's required. I have one data set that I want to put out on our screen right now, which is to do with the percentage of defectors winning. So if you see that, we'll start with the BJP, the Congress and the JDS. In the last elections, for the Bharatiya Janata Party, coming up on your screen right now, there were 58 defectors, 27 of them won. So 58 defectors came into the BJP, 27 of them won. That's a 47% strike rate of defectors who joined the BJP. Let's now look at the defectors who come into the Congress and how they fared. The Congress has seen some people coming in from parties like the BJP in this election. 20 defectors in the last election, 7 of them won, a 35% strike rate, lesser than that of the BJP, but a 35% strike rate for those defectors who came in. The Janata Dal Secular had 21 defectors, only 3 of those won. That's a strike rate of about 14.3%. So, and I also want to play out Jagdish Shettar's report card. from the Hubli-Dharwad Central constituency. If you look at it, he won in 2018 with a 51% vote share, a victory margin of 14.42. In 2013, he had a 49.61% vote share, victory margin of 15.13. In 2008, 54 with a victory margin of 24.24. Professor Rajiv Gowda, the BJP thinks the likes of Jagdish Shettar have seen their prime, and that's in the past, and that their defection will make no difference to the BJP stronghold over the Lingayat votes. They're saying, but just as well that they're going, people will think Modi koshish kar raha hai, naye log la raha hai, is giving fresh faces a chance, and that they think, like Gujarat and elsewhere, will actually work to their favor.
Sorry, Rahul, that analysis is totally incorrect. Basically, the BJP in Karnataka draws a tremendous amount of support from the Lingayat community, and the Lingayat community has looked up to its leaders, Sri Yediyurappa and Sri Jagdish Shettar and Sri Lakshman Savadi, who was Deputy Chief Minister. The other earlier two were Chief Ministers. These are not light positions. These are serious positions that command a tremendous amount of respect. What the BJP has done this time is it has eliminated all three of these leaders and essentially sent a signal to the Lingayat community that... But
that's not true. Yediyurappa is still leading the campaign. No, the Prime Minister is still holding his hand. So you can't really... I mean, you're playing this story that he's been sidelined. That's actually not correct.
I think you're falling for their optics. You're falling for their optics too easily, my friend. Yediyurappa has been sidelined. They gave him hell before they gave his son a seat. Very few of his candidates have been accommodated. The signal is very, very clear to the Lingayat community that their established leadership is passé, is finished. Okay, so now you may talk about future leadership. Future leadership doesn't emerge in one election. You know, if the BJP is playing a long game with the Lingayat community and saying, okay, we're going to build people up, in 20 years you'll have leaders and chief ministers, nobody's going to wait for them. That's the basic situation. So across northern Karnataka and some pockets of southern Karnataka where the Lingayats are decisive in terms of elections, you will see that there is going to be a massive shift from that supporting the BJP to supporting the Congress. Yogendra Yadavji's 2-3% shift is going to be an underestimate, and you're going to see that 150 seats that Rahul Gandhi asked for, that's going to be an underestimate this election, just because that's the way the numbers play out.
Okay, so you're talking about being able to break the BJP stronghold on the Lingayat vote bank. I want to show our viewers data from CSDS's polls in past assembly elections in Karnataka, which essentially say that in 2018 the BJP had about 60% of the Lingayat votes. In 2008 it had about 61% of the Lingayat votes. In 2013 that vote share came down, but that's because Yediyurappa had formed his own party, the KJP, at that time. But largely it's been in the 60s, and in Lok Sabha elections, it goes up even further. In the last election, it was stated to be in the high 80s. So that's how strong their command over the Lingayat vote bank ordinarily is. I want to go across to GVL Narasimha Rao. Yogendra Yadav's theory that the optics are bad because you've got people, typically a party as strong as the BJP, has people from other parties, from the Trinamool, the Congress and the others, jumping to the BJP. Very rarely do you see, since 2014, a senior leader like Jagdish Shettar, who's been former chief minister, leave. He says whether it actually impacts vote share or not is inconsequential. More importantly, mahal kharab hota hai. You know, a lot of the elections about mahal, and all that we've seen in the past few days has the mahal turning against the BJP. How do you counter Yogendra Yadav? GVL.
You see, the mahal only has an impact on television discussions. This so-called mahal does not impact the voting pattern on the ground, and that too for a party like the BJP, which has a very strong cadre base. A lot of you wrongly perceive or think that Congress is a cadre-based party. Congress party, to my mind, does not have any cadres. Its leaders have cadres. When individual leaders of the Congress leave, cadres leave along with them. In the BJP, the cadres are with the party. The leaders might stay or go. They don't go with the leader. So therefore, certainly a leader like Jagdish Shettarji leaving the BJP is not something that the BJP is happy about, but its impact, if at all, it will be limited to that one particular seat. If at all, that also I'm saying, if the cadre, because it's a safe seat.
But you know, you would
Jagdish
accept that the
Shettar,
cadre of the BJP in Karnataka is not as big as a percent as the cadre of the BJP in a state like Gujarat or Uttar Pradesh, because the BJP's gains in Karnataka are largely a new phenomena. You've had many defectors coming to your party. You do have a cadre base, but not as strong as that in the Hindi heartland, GVL.
no, but relatively we have a much stronger cadre base than any other party. It's all, we are talking about a state in cadre strengths of relatively different parties. Please understand, if a Congress leader leaves, cadre leaves with him. In the BJP, if a leader leaves, he leaves alone. He doesn't carry the cadre with him because the cadre has an ideological connect with the BJP.
Yogendra
How do you
Yadav has his
expect
hand
that?
up. I'm going to get him to give a
How do you
counter to this,
expect
that the
the
BJP
BJP
is
cadre?
a cadre-based party, and therefore the departure, even of a high-profile neta, and we've seen this in the case of a Kalyan Singh or even in Uma Bharti, who are much bigger netas than Jagdish Shettar ever was, didn't really impact the vote structure of the BJP. The neta goes, the cadre stays.
The cadres are linked to the ideology, not to the individual.
Yogendra Yadav ji.
I first wanted to clarify, Rahul, that when I spoke about 2 to 3% swing for Congress, it was not from 2018. It is from what all the opinion polls have shown till last week, which is that Congress already enjoys anything between 4 to 6% margin. So I was saying, on top of that already existing 4 to 6% margin, Congress could get 2 percentage points or similar advantage because of the. Now to the point that Narasimha Rao has made, I think it's a fair thing to say nationally.
Go on, sir. We hear you.
Can you hear me?
I hear you well.
Yes, sir. So now to the point that Narasimha Rao ji had made, I think it's a fair distinction to draw. BJP is largely a cadre-based party, and Congress's cadre has been exceptionally weak. Although I should underline the fact that in Karnataka this distinction is much, much weaker. Please remember, Congress in Karnataka is still one of the deepest entrenched party for Congress anywhere in the country. So if you look at Congress around the country, Karnataka is probably one of the places where it's more deeply entrenched than anywhere. And BJP, compared to BJP elsewhere in the country, is most weakly entrenched in Karnataka. So let's remember that the contrast is not that big. And number two, please remember that the point about percentage of defectors who succeed, that varies from the general hawa in each election. Last time, there was no hawa for Congress. If anything, there was a negative hawa for Congress. When you have negative hawa, people who shift to you lose. When you have positive hawa, then people who shift for you tend to win. So that figure might change. And finally, I just want to ask, not just Narasimha Rao ji, I want to ask you, Rahul, I want to ask anyone who knows anything about Karnataka, please tell me, are BJP workers and leaders not demoralized? It is not a private, deep investigation that I'm bringing to you. It's out there on the street. It's out there on the face of everyone. It's out there on the front pages of newspaper. How are we denying something so elementary as that?
Now, morale is difficult
Rahul,
to quantify. I thought this was more about the data, but Yogendra Yadav bowling a googly. Let GVL Narasimha Rao counter that, because we can't let that
Rahul,
just stay unanswered. Just 1 second. Professor Gowda, I'm coming to you. Since he says BJP cadre seems dispirited, we've seen protests, we've seen workers out on the streets. He's adding all of that up to say your workers are demoralized. GVL?
No, Rahul, momentarily, whenever a big leader leaves or there is a disturbance, it does cause a little disturbance. But it doesn't take much time to settle down. It doesn't take more than maybe a day or two to settle down. I will repeat this point because it's important. My cadres, the BJP cadres, are committed to Ram Mandir. Jagdish Shettar going to Congress, can he shout Jai Shri Ram? Will he have the authority to shout Jai Shri Ram in Congress? I doubt very much. My cadres, the BJP cadres, are committed to abrogation of Article 370. They are committed to Hindutva philosophy. And Jagdish Chatterjee has gone to a party which believes possibly in love jihad.
Okay.
So certainly,
Rajiv Gowda wants to come in.
it doesn't help.
On the issue of
it won't help
See,
individuals
let him make
who
a-
go to parties which have diametrically opposite ideological backgrounds.
Professor Gowda.
See, Mr. Narasimha Rao is totally wrong. If you just look at the numbers, and this show is about the numbers, in 2013, when Mr. Yediyurappa broke away, the cadres, one big chunk went with him. 10% of the vote share of the BJP went with Yediyurappa. What happened to all this cadre loyalty and his affection for love jihad or whatever
No,
he's
but
talking
Yediyurappa
about?
is still
The
the
basic
tallest
point is
leader of the Lingayat
that
community. He's
basic
still
point
batting on
is-
a BJP
the
ticket.
basic point
He
is
hasn't
I
jumped
think
and
he never
Shettar is no
broken away
will
from BJP
Yediyurappa.
ideology.
when leaders leave. Okay.
No, Yediyurappa ji is committed to the same
they went with
ideology.
Yediyurappa,
Okay,
didn't
let
they?
Professor
so what
Gowda
is this
speak.
ideology and cadres? That doesn't work here in Karnataka. Please stick to wherever you are. Yeah.
But Professor Gowda, the tallest Lingayat leader, is still padding up and batting for the BJP. He left and damaged them in 2013 with both realized the mistake. But Shettar is no Yediyurappa.
But Yediyurappa also is no longer the Yediyurappa that he once was. He's been hobbled, he's been crippled, he's been treated terribly, and just by some chance they've managed to, he's been able to beg for a seat for his son and maybe one more person. They've totally sidelined him, they're just using him as a prop, and basically the people of his community very clearly understand that the BJP has let down the Lingayat community tremendously. Now, that is just one part of the story. The other part of the story is that every community, if you want to analyze on the basis of communities and castes, is also disappointed with the BJP, not disappointed, disgusted with the 40% Sarkara, with
quick
their
comment,
terrible
Rahul.
governance, with this, you saw what Mr. Narasimha Rao brought up, love jihad, all sorts of fake issues that have no relevance to modern day Karnataka.
Okay,
When
I
you
want to show
look
our
at that
viewers
Nalin
this
Kumar
data
Patil,
set
the BJP
about
president,
the
he
number
said
of
this
seats.
election is not about development. He said it's a fight between Tipu Sultan and Savarkar.
Okay. This show is not about Tipu Sultan or Savarkar, it's about the data. Let's just stick to that, Professor Gowda. No, one second. Our team and I have worked really hard on putting different data sets together, which I think explain the election and the significance of different factors. I just want to stay very focused on the data. I want to bring up next the number of seats dominated by particular communities, which gives you a sense of why the Lingayat community is as important as it is, and the percentage of that community as an overall percent of the state's voting population. So the Lingayats are considered, these aren't specific percentages, but considered to be about 14% of the state's population, and they dominate up to 76 seats. Now these are estimates, but they are broad estimates and everybody typically goes by these estimates. The Vokaligas about 11% of the state's population and dominate about 54 seats, and therefore they are as important. The Kurubas are 7%. Just the Kurubas dominate 3 seats, but they are fragmented and dispersed across the state and therefore significant. And I want to go across now on this issue to Sanjay Kumar. Remember, Professor Sanjay Kumar leads a formidable team of researchers at CSDS Lokniti. They are academics and therefore don't really have any personal skin in the game. We've heard from people who we know which side they are batting for. We haven't heard from you so far, Sanjay Kumar. Which way do you think the winds in Karnataka are blowing?
If we look at the vote percentage of Congress, and over the last 4 elections, Congress is sitting comfortably with say about 34-35% vote. A 4% swing in favor of Congress, and I am calculating in the context of say 2% away from BJP and 2% away from JDS. So if there is a 4% swing in favor of Congress, this can give Congress a comfortable majority to the range of say 135 to 140 seats. This could be possible because if we look at the support base of Congress, it is very widespread. It is not like in many other states, because Congress gets vote from what we used to talk about. Congress has a coalition, rainbow coalition in the 90s and 80s. That still remains the case in Karnataka. So Congress gets votes from large
No, so are you suggesting that your research is showing that the Congress's vote share, which is say about 38% in the last elections, could potentially go up past 40 in this poll? That's what you're broadly picking up?
No, I have not done any poll, and I'm not saying that Congress vote share will go up to 42 or 43%. The limited point I'm making is that in order to make a comfortable victory in Karnataka, Congress only needs 3% to 4% swing in its
No,
favor.
but can I say that a lot of this Panditri, Professor Kumar, is based on a time when the BJP big guns haven't come out to the battlefield yet. Post the 20th is when Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, the BJP President JP Nadda and the others really swamped the battlefield. The Prime Minister has got multiple back-to-back rallies, road shows lined up. How much of a factor could that be, the heavy artillery that the BJP brings to the battlefield in the last 20 days?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's going to be a very important factor for BJP. But when I was saying that it is possible for Congress to have a 4% swing in its favor, this is based on the situation on the ground as of today. Yes, I agree that the names which you have already taken, when they come for the campaign, they can make a huge difference for
Let me
BJP.
put that same question to Yogendra Yadav, because a lot of the analysis is based at this moment when the nomination process is still on, the tickets were decided, there was a bit of intransigence in the party. After that, that's now being settled. And this is where the BJP brings the full might of the most formidable election machine modern India has seen. How much of a difference could the presence of the Prime Minister and his key generals in the battlefield in a concentrated fashion in the last 20 days make to the end outcome on the 13th? Yogendra Yadav.
Rahul, this would have been relevant if this was the first time BJP was using all this artillery, as you call it, in the assembly election. It so happens that BJP has used it every single time. So, the 38% vote that BJP had last time takes this artillery into account. It is by using all this that BJP has reached where it's reached. Please remember that after using this artillery and everything else, BJP has never got a simple majority in Karnataka ever before. And the only way in BJP has formed the government is through that dirty backdoor Operation Kamala. So please remember, this is not for the first time that Mr. Modi is going to campaign. This is not for the first time that Mr. Amit Shah is going to campaign. Yes, this might be the first time that Mr. JP Nadda is going to campaign in a big way, but I'm sure in the studio you may not find anyone, not even from the BJP, who would say Mr. Nadda is going to swing votes in Karnataka. He has already taken a few votes away from BJP in Karnataka by saying what he has said. So all these are standard given factors. And if there are some artillery on the part of the BJP, I'm sure Professor Rajiv Gowda would tell you the artillery on the part of the Congress. I do not know of any leader in Karnataka who can draw the kind of crowds that Mr. Siddaramaiah can.
Okay, let me put that question to R.K. Upadhyay. The comparison between what we'll see... Okay, let GVL... Because I've got guests I haven't had a chance to go to, so I'm keen on going to them.
Comment.
Okay, very quickly. Yes, sir, go on.
Yeah, you see, our campaign is certainly led by the Honorable Prime Minister, who is certainly going to be the face of the campaign, but that does not take away that our organizational leaders, be it National President Mr. Nadda, who they have a big role to play. Just because you don't like BJP, Yogendra, it's not expected that you will make such uncharitable comments. He certainly has strengthened the organization. He leads the party in an organizational way, and everybody contributes to the campaign. Certainly some leaders become face of the campaign, some become organizational leaders. And in another important point, Rahul, I think we have been talking about caste here. Lingayat. You see, BJP is in power, Lingayat will be a chief minister. Is the Congress willing to say there will be a Lingayat chief minister? I want Gowda to answer this. Certainly, the Lingayats will vote lock, stock and barrel for the BJP because the only chance of having a chief minister from Lingayat community is with the BJP, and that's what matters. It does not matter which second, third rung leaders lead.
Okay, you know what, we did a conversion of Lok Sabha vote share into assembly trends. So what the BJP needs to do in the next 3 weeks somehow is to make this about Prime Minister Modi and to bring in national factors to somehow turn this into, like they did in Gujarat, a battle of prestige and bring that trump card to the play, which is Prime Minister Modi. In the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, the BJP had 51.75% vote share, the Congress 32.11%, the JDS about 10%. Converted into assembly trends, the BJP would have won 170 out of the 224 seats in Karnataka. The Congress would have won 36, the JDS 11. So they somehow, remember this is an assembly election, so it's not really a national election. Most voters can tell that difference, but the BJP will seek to make this as much as possible about more than just Karnataka, more than just local state government-led issues. R.K. Upadhyay, this point about the comparison between the firepower that the BJP will now bring, every minister being sent there, leaders from different parts of the country, in smaller districts, in towns, micromanaging the campaign, the Prime Minister himself, Amit Shah, Yogi Adityanath, JP Nadda, the entire galaxy of BJP top guns, up against the likes largely of Siddaramaiah, Shivakumar and the Mallikarjun Kharge and the Congress Karnataka brass. The argument Yogendra Yadav makes is that the Congress does have good local leaders in Karnataka who are popular versus the BJP's big guns. To what extent will the big guns of the BJP be able to sway the results on the 10th of May?
Rahul, I think it's going to make a very, very big difference. You know, I mean, just now I was hearing Yogendra Yadav ji saying that BJP cadre is demoralized and it's dispirited and all that. I'm just returning from Hubli. You know, just 5 hours ago I was in Hubli and people are going about in a normal way. There is a life is going on. So it's not that, you know, people are morose because Jagdish Shettar has been removed from this. So the fact of the matter is that, you know, people like Jagdish Shettar depend on the party. I mean, he doesn't have a charisma of his own. He's not a mass leader like, you know, Yediyurappa ji. So the impact of his expulsion or impact of his resignation is going to be very, very limited. And people like, you know, now the Prime Minister, the Home Minister and Yogi Adityanath, all these people reaching out there is definitely going to make a big difference. You know, definitely.
No, but take for example another election that's happening at the same time, the UP the UP urban body elections. There the mahal is in favor of the BJP already. The argument being made or the question being asked is whether all the mahal that we've seen somehow, at least so far where this match is being commented on at this moment, the mahal doesn't seem to have come in the BJP's favor in quite the same way. How big a factor is that, and do you think that could change once the big guns join the battlefield?
I think once the big guns enter, it is going to change dramatically because, you know, people are waiting for these national leaders to come and, you know, campaign.
But the counter to what you are saying is that once an election is decided, once voters have largely made up their mind, it's very rare that the mahal changes entirely. It can change on the margins. Very rarely do we see the ball swing completely the other way if it's swinging in one direction originally.
No, absolutely. You see, I mean, BJP is fighting against tremendous odds because, you know, in 38 years, a sitting government has never been repeated in Karnataka. It was last in 1985 when Ramakrishna Hegde, heading the Janata Party government, was able to, you know, get a second consecutive term. Since then, there have been 7 general elections and the governments have been changed. So, which shows that, you know, BJP is not going to have it easy. It's going to be, you know, tremendous odds are against the BJP.
No.
But the fact that, you know, it's putting up a fight, and I feel it, you know, with another 3 weeks left, things could change. Right now, I would say the Congress is ahead. Definitely ahead of the, you know, BJP, but they are not crossing the magic figure. So that is where I feel that, you know, this could gradually change as the days progress.
Okay, I want to go across to Devendra Shukla at Matrice Communications. They've done an opinion poll recently. आप अपने opinion poll के बारे में थोड़ा बताएं. जितना मैंने देखा, उसमें जो common perception है अब तक, उसके विपरीत आपका poll ये कह रहा है कि आपके हिसाब से भाजपा कर्नाटक में जीत रही है. क्यों और कैसे?
नहीं, कॉमन परसेप्शन से विपरीत हमारा पोल नहीं है. अगर राहुल जी आपने डेटा को ठीक से देखा होगा तो जैसे अभी योगेंद्र यादव कह रहे थे कि कांग्रेस अगर 40% वोट पा जाए तो वो यहां पहुंच सकती है. और जो लास्ट टाइम का जो वोट शेयर था कांग्रेस का 2018, 2013 और 2008 के डेटा को हमें देखना चाहिए पार्टी वाइज। अगर मैं ये कहूं कि 2018 में कांग्रेस का वोट शेयर 39% था और कांग्रेस का वोट शेयर जो है 2008 में वो 34% था या 35% था, और कांग्रेस की सीटें 2018 और 2008 में सेम थी, 80 ही तब थी और 80 ही इस बार भी थी। बीच में एक इलेक्शन आया 2013 जिसमें कि 122 सीटें वो लेके आए, लेकिन वो जो वोट शेयर था वो 34 और 39 के कहीं बीच में 36 पे था। और ये 122 का जो आंकड़ा उनका आया था, ये तब आया था जब येदियुरप्पा बीजेपी से रिबेल करके अपनी खुद की एक पार्टी उन्होंने फॉर्म की थी, और बीजेपी और उनकी जो पार्टी का वोट शेयर था वो अगर कंबाइंडली देखा जाए तो वो 30 के आसपास आ रहा था और कांग्रेस उस समय 36% पे थी। तो जो 122 का फिगर कांग्रेस के लिए आया था वो एग्जैक्टली किसी 36% के वोट शेयर के कारण नहीं आया था कि 34 से 2% बढ़ गए तो वो 122 पे पहुंच गए, ऐसा नहीं था। दूसरी एक चीज है कि अब अगर बीजेपी के आंकड़ों को हम 2018, 2013 और 2008 में देखें तो बीजेपी का वोट शेयर 2018 में 36% था, 2008 में 33% था। तो अगर क्या कहते हैं सिर्फ ये मान लिया जाए कि बढ़े हुए वोट शेयर पे ज्यादा सीटें आती हैं तो इसका मतलब है कि बीजेपी को 2008 की तुलना में 2018 में जो है सीटें वो ज्यादा आनी चाहिए थी, लेकिन ये तो हुआ नहीं। बीजेपी की सीटें 110 से घट के 104 पे घट के चली आई थी।
आपका जो इस बार का ओपिनियन पोल है उसके बारे में बताएं थोड़ा।
आपने जब डिस्कशन की देखिए, मेरा जो ओपिनियन पोल था उसमें हमने कांग्रेस को सबसे बड़ी पार्टी के रूप में दिखाया था वोट शेयर के टर्म्स में, और मैं अभी भी उस पर स्टेबल हूं कि कांग्रेस जो है वो वोट शेयर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सबसे बड़ी पार्टी रहेगी। लेकिन अगर आप रीजन वाइज जो है वोट शेयर को देखेंगे तो 3 ऐसे रीजन हैं जहां पे कि बीजेपी ने कांग्रेस को पीछे लास्ट टाइम भी छोड़ा था और वो इस बार भी छोड़ रहे हैं। तो बीजेपी को सीटों का या वोट शेयर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बहुत ज्यादा लॉस नहीं होने जा रहा है। दूसरी एक चीज है, जेडीएस को एक फैक्टर के रूप में, एक प्रमुख फैक्टर के रूप में एक विशेष रीजन में आपको करके देखना है, और वहां पे सबसे ज्यादा उसकी जो तगड़ी फाइट होती है वो कांग्रेस के साथ है। तो ये बेसिकली जो इलेक्शन है वो 2 चीजों पे बहुत डिपेंड करेगा। एक कि जेडीएस का परफॉर्मेंस मैसूर रीजन में क्या 2018 की तरीके ही रहता है और क्या उससे कांग्रेस उसी तरीके से प्रभावित होती है या नहीं। दूसरी चीज यह है कि जो अभी ये डिस्कशन में आ रहा है कि बीजेपी को लोगों के रिबेल करने से नुकसान होगा या नहीं, तो देखिए ये तो दोनों ही तरीके के एग्जाम्पल हैं कि बीजेपी में जब झारखंड इलेक्शन की अगर आप बात करें तो वहां पे रघुवर दास के खिलाफ उन्हीं की पार्टी के एक लीडर ने जो टिकट न मिलने पे इलेक्शन लड़ा था और उनको हराया था। लेकिन उत्तराखंड जैसे स्टेट में जहां पे कि एक बड़े नंबर जो है लोगों के काटे गए सीनियर लीडर्स के थे, वहां पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं था।
Okay. So you made 2 important points: the role of the Janata Dal secular and the fact that what happens in the last 20 odd days. So let me put this question to Sanjay Kumar on the Janata Dal secular. Do you see the JDS largely hold on to where they were on the screen right now? The JDS vote share in the last assembly elections about 18%. Remember, a lot of that vote comes from the 64 odd seats of old Mysore. When converted into seats, the JDS starts out in this Karnataka election with 37 seats. In 2019, in the Lok Sabha elections, the BJP stormed even old Mysore and the JDS was reduced to a rump. The BJP thinks they've penetrated old Mysore quite a bit between the last elections and now, and they may do well like they did in the Lok Sabha elections. Or do you think it will revert back to the typical formulation in old Mysore, which is JDS versus Congress? Or do you think BJP would have an important role to play in old Mysore this time? Sanjay Kumar.
Rahul, as I said, we have not done any polls, so it's not based on any poll. But my own sense is that if I look at the last 4 assembly elections, JDS always has a sizable percentage of vote, and that is roughly in the range of say 15 to 20% vote. So my own sense is that JDS may be able to retain those 15-16% vote. Their performance may be may not be as good as it was in 2018 or previous election, because at the moment the perception which is building in Karnataka is that it is a 1-to-1 fight between BJP and Congress. So if that is a perception which is building, then we might see some shift in favor of Congress, which might affect the JDS. JDS more or less will hold on, but the tally might go down by few seats.
You know, I don't know about you who are watching, but I really enjoyed this show. This is what I think TV should be about. Sharp viewpoints, argued incisively with data, with ideas, rather than a slinging match, tu meme, which makes absolutely no sense. We had an interesting exchange of views, a lot to think about. And remember, this is really the halfway point in some senses, because you've got the slow-goers still left. Who's able to score more in the slow-goers? Can the BJP pull it back from here, or can the Congress hold on to where they've reached right now without conceding low balls and wides? That's something the Congress has done in the past. Remember, they're up against a very formidable election machine. This is exciting. This is why we're so charged up, and this is also why we're going to Bengaluru tomorrow. Because on Saturday we have the big India Today Karnataka roundtable, from the Home Minister to the Congress President, the BJP Chief Minister, Shivakumar, Siddaramaiah. The entire galaxy of central and state level leaders will be with us at the India Today Karnataka roundtable this Saturday. Do tune in for that. We have a special show tomorrow as well on the Newstrack. So a lot coming up. We're really charged up and excited. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in Karnataka. Goodbye.